everybody. Welcome to the Hallmark Movies podcast. We are really excited today to bring you a special episode. We are recapping the movie that went straight to Hallmark Movies Now, and then it's on the 5th is going to be coming to Hallmark Movies and Mysteries. We were really excited about it every time a bell rings. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Betsy from Hallmark Happenings is here.
Guys.
And then my friend Abby is here.
Hey everybody.
Both have been on before, but it's been a while, so people might not remember who you are. So why don't you introduce yourself to our audience, starting with you, Abby?
My name is Abby Kidd. I live in Washington State, and my history with Rachel is my husband and I did both Star Wars. This was like 5 years ago or something. Star Wars podcast with Rachel, and then we also have done Harry Potter movie rewatches together, which have been really fun. So I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, Abby and Jamie, they were my very first kind of foray into podcasting. We leading up to The Force Awakens, we recapped all of the Star Wars movies that had been up to that point, and it was really fun, and I just got the bug and ended up going with it. So yeah, that's been 6 years. Can you believe it?
That is wild. I feel very old.
But what about you, Betsy? Why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, hi, everybody. I apologize for my poor audio quality today. I promise you it's never like this, but thanks for having me back, Rachel. I had started back in May, and I kind of just talked to different actors from the Hallmark movies. I recently did a GAC movie, so kind of venturing out a little bit, and this technically is Hallmark Movies Now, so look at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I, like everyone listening, just love Hallmark Channel, and it's fun to get to talk about it with other people who love it like I do.
Yeah, and your podcast Hallmark Happenings is a lot of fun, so people should check it out.
Thank you.
So part of the reason why I wanted to particularly showcase, because we normally kind of lump our films together, I wanted to particularly showcase this film, was because it was written by a friend of the podcast, Elise Murray, and I love her so much, and I think she did a great job with this. And we also, we had just interviewed Erin, and she executive produced this. She was a producer on this film, and she was very involved with Elise. And so I don't know, I just felt like I felt invested in it, even though I had nothing to do with it. And I wanted to talk about it. Plus, I think it crossed some boundaries that for Hallmark, and I think that's exciting to see what they're doing and how they're telling new stories. And so yes, every time a bell rings, this was started on the 18th for Hallmark Movies Now on the app. It stars Erin Cahill, Brittany Ishibashi, Ali Liebert, and Wes Brown. And the little summary is: three sisters reunite in their hometown of Natchez, Mississippi, after a long time apart. They're surprised to discover their late father had planned one last scavenger hunt for them to find the family's wooden wishing bell, a beloved annual holiday tradition when they were young. As they search for clues in the days leading up to Christmas, the trio visits local childhood haunts around Natchez that hold special meaning for them. In the process, their sisterly bond is rekindled, and each learns an important lesson about what they want in life and in love. So, Abby, what was your overall thoughts about this film?
This was, by a large margin, the most progressive Hallmark movie that I have seen on many fronts.
Yeah.
Not just on the same-sex stuff. There were multiple ways that this was very progressive. My overall thought was, I really liked the movie. It was cute and fun to watch and had satisfying storylines. And if this is the direction that Hallmark is moving, I'm in. I'm sold.
Yeah. Yeah. What did you think, Betsy?
I actually really, really liked it. I did not even look up the plot summary before watching it. And so I just was like, okay, we'll see what this is about. I thought it was so nice. One, of course, the other things that you already mentioned, Abby, but like the three sisters being the focal point and not just like the girl goes back to the hometown and the guy and they rekindle a relationship. I mean, we've seen that like hundreds of times. So I just thought it was so refreshing just to see these sisters and their like sisterly moments together. That was my favorite part because it added so much compared to what I feel like we normally see in Hallmark movies. It was just like,
Mhm.
let's see more of the relationships outside of the expected.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, I mean, I appreciated the progressiveness as well very much, just because it's new stories. Like, I think that's exciting. And even if you have the similar story beats, if it's with new characters who are in are experiencing different experiences, it feels fresh, it feels new, that then that's exciting. But I think as somebody I have three sisters myself, I definitely really related to that whole dynamic. And we're all four of us are all very, very different. And so that kind of and we when we haven't been all four of us together in so long that but I can imagine that when that does happen eventually, when we're all four together, I can imagine that having that kind of excitement, but also slight awkwardness that, I don't know, just the dynamic I thought was really real and definitely felt true to me. And, of course, you love each other, but there's also just a difficulty in communicating, which I think was very effectively portrayed in the film. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed it too. It definitely it had all the feels. It really felt more like what they call in literature women's fiction rather than romance. And I think that that was refreshing. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast.
Cozy up with A Very Bavarian Christmas, a delightful Christmas novel by Katie M. Reed.
Holly Noel Brigham is trapped back in her hometown personalizing ornaments at the mile-long Christmas store, and she doesn't even like Christmas.
As Holly works through fractured relationships and embarrassing misunderstandings, she stumbles upon love in the Bavarian-themed town from which she tried to distance herself.
Bestselling author Crystal Payne says this about A Very Bavarian Christmas. If you're looking for a holiday-themed read that will warm your heart, but also make you think, this is the perfect pick. The storyline and characters draw you in from the get-go, and you'll find yourself relating to their struggles and cheering for their victories.
Available in paperback, ebook, and audiobook.
Pick up A Very Bavarian Christmas for yourself and the Hallmark fans on your list at averybavarianchristmas.com.
That's averybavarianchristmas.com.
Starts out, you kind of get the background of the three sisters, and they were each adopted. And how did you feel, Abby, as someone who worked in foster care and also have an adopted child? How did you feel like they handled that kind of dynamic of the story?
That was handled overall. I thought it was handled really well.
Mm-hmm.
There were definitely not any real like major missteps, which is refreshing. Like that's actually exceedingly rare. There's no major missteps as far as like being actually overtly offensive.
Right.
But overall, I thought the adoption thing was handled well. They used modern adoption language. They used like biological parent, placed for adoption, etc. They centered the experiences of the adopted people, which is really important. We tend to like center the experiences of the adoptive parents as saviors, which is not really what adoption is about. It's about, providing families for children who need them. It wasn't like inspiration porny on any level.
Right.
Which those kinds of stories, especially when there's foster care was specifically mentioned. So at least one of them, we don't know which or whom, was adopted from foster care. It may have been all three of them. We don't know for sure.
One thing that I don't know how, I guess, accurate this, but I liked the fact that each one had their own sort of feelings about connecting with their birth family, that there, I thought that was, I would imagine that's true to life, is that some people feel that need and other people don't.
I I found the other sister's responses to her finding her birth mom, like when she asked them about biological parents, I found them a little maybe more just kind of blasé than I would have expected.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of whether they want to have contact or not.
Mm-hmm.
I think most adopted people have some strong feelings
Yeah,
about
you would expect that they would at least be empathetic of wanting that, even if they didn't want
right.
it.
I
Yeah.
just I think I just expected a little more from their responses.
Mm-hmm.
Like their responses were perfectly realistic. Like there are absolutely people, adopted people who are like, I'm really not interested. There are a lot of adopted people who do connect with their biological families, and that satisfies their curiosity, and they don't feel the need to like stay connected
Mm-hmm.
for long periods. Those are both totally realistic scenarios.
Yeah. Betsy, what did you think about how they handled sort of the adoption element?
Well, I think what was interesting towards the end when Erin's character, I don't know, I'm blanking out on her name, but when she, was
Charlotte.
reconnecting with Charlotte, yeah, she was reconnecting with her birth mom, and her birth mom was like, well, I'd love for you to, on Christmas Day, come hang out. And I thought it was interesting that she chose to kind of actually spend the day with her adoptive family instead of, because everyone's like, oh, my birth mom. And then they kind of like leave behind, it almost seems like the family that raised them, So I thought that was a nice, like maybe slightly unexpected choice for Hallmark, if that makes sense, because it's kind of like, well, my birth mom, now I'm moving on, goodbye everybody else. But I like that she stayed loyal to the family she knew and grew up with. And I don't have any personal like knowledge of how that all works, but I thought it was handled well from what I could tell. And it was, again, a nice, refreshing kind of storyline that Hallmark doesn't usually tap into. But I thought Erin did a fantastic job as an actress in all those scenes. She was just great. She was very vulnerable, and it was nice to watch. And I loved how all the three sisters just all looked so different, but they all were so close. I thought that was a great choice in casting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think the casting was really strong. And Erin, I think, did a good job. And I can understand why she would lie about where she was going that day. Not that she even has to tell them anything. She's an adult. She can do whatever. She can just go. But I could understand her not wanting to, until she had met her mom and had the whole experience, not wanting to tell everybody. And I liked that when she has the conversation with her mother, that that response was so lovely when her mom says, I would have liked to have said thanks. That was beautiful.
That was really lovely. I love
Yeah.
the way that her adoptive mom responded. Her biological mom's response also was pretty, like everything about her experience was pretty pristine from my perspective. And that's like, for a Hallmark movie, that's fine. Like,
Yeah.
Adoption in real life tends to be grittier and hard. And I mean, the emotional range of a Hallmark movie is just maybe not going to fully do it justice, which is fine. Like, I think given the context of it being in a Hallmark movie, the way it was handled was very good.
Yeah. And you only have so much time, and they really did try to tackle a lot in this movie. And I could see, I guess, that being a critique of it, is that it maybe took on, that it's somewhat cursory in its exploration of these themes, because it does take on a lot. But I was satisfied with, I mean, the only thing maybe I would have liked to have seen more of is actually the romance, because I thought that Erin and Wes had nice chemistry together. They just weren't together very much. It was definitely a smaller role for him. Yeah, you have Emily, and she is there with her husband Paul, and Emily is very committed to her work. I forget what she does. I can't remember what her job is, but anyway, she's very committed to her job. And Paul, her husband, who she eloped with, which was kind of an issue in between the sisters, that she's there with her husband, and that he is ready to start a family. She is not. And so that's kind of their conflict. Betsy, what do you think about that conflict?
Well, again, a true to life scenario that, Hallmark does not normally kind of investigate, I feel like it. And it's so true. I mean, people are dealing with this kind of stuff all the time. As far as like the whole movie tackling a lot of stuff, I know Hallmark doesn't do this, but gosh, I love miniseries. I've recently gotten really into miniseries, and it would have been so nice if they had 3 episodes, kind of each focusing on each sister. That way they would get more screen time. You could really dive into the characters and their storylines, because I think there was more left to be told. But they don't do miniseries. But if they did, it would have been a great one. But no, I thought it was actually interesting too, like that the guy, Paul, wanted to have a kid, and then she really wasn't ready for that, because it seems like it's kind of usually opposite. But it was interesting. And they handled it well again, and they kind of came to that resolution. We'll see where we are a year from now. But it's lots of more true to life scenarios and just romance with my old flame. This was a much more realistic view.
Yeah, what did you think of that plot line, Abby?
That might actually be what I think is the most progressive of the 3 plot lines.
Yeah.
Because to have a woman on, Hallmark is kind of like, I think part of it is that Hallmark is they're known for being traditional, right? It's so not traditional to have the man be the one who's really driving the desire to have children. And it's really not traditional, B, to have the woman say, no, I don't want to do that. I'm not ready for that. And have that be validated by everyone in her life. The husband, the mom. Like, the mom isn't begging her for grandkids. She's just
the mom starts out pretty awkward, because she gives them this handmade crib.
Yes, that is definitely pressure.
Yeah. And I think she thought they were ready and didn't realize this was a point of conflict, because she hadn't visited in a long time. And so it kind of, made sense. It certainly wasn't, she didn't mean to, open this wound, but
it wasn't helpful. But they had told, or the husband had told her, we're talking about starting our family.
Yeah.
So it was fair of her to do it.
Yeah. I was just like, oh, awkward. But it was beautiful. And then it kind of came around once the mother then apologized for what she had done, and said, as much as I love grandchildren, I support you in all that you are doing. And I thought that was really, really beautiful. I mean, I sort of also wanted somebody to say, like, I think that you will be I guess they did talk about, but I felt like I wanted somebody to just be like, you can do it. Like, your choice is valid, but also, like, I think that it's one of those things that I feel like you think that you can't do it until you do it. Like, I don't think any of us ever feels really like prepared to be a parent, right? I mean, you
That's
always
true.
have those...
Like, you're never really ready to be a parent, but at the same time, like, if that's not, like, it clearly is not what she wants right then, like, it just isn't what she is ready, or she doesn't feel like that's something she's
because the main conflict seemed to be with her feeling like, could she balance work and having a child? I don't know if I felt like it was that she didn't want to have a child. So maybe if there was a way that they could, talk about childcare, talk about, some other things to reassure her, not that anyone should feel pressured, but I hope that she can get the confidence that she can do it, because I know that she could do it. But yeah, it was a really interesting plot line. And I kind of like the fact that Paul, he was always kind of like stuck like cooking and like doing all the stuff that normally people do in these movies, but they were off, searching for the clues, and he's there, like, he says that baking bread is his love language. I thought that was funny. Yeah, what did you think about that, Betsy?
About the bread love language? I think it was a great opportunity to see a mother-in-law not be horrendous towards their
Yeah.
son-in-law. That is so overdone. And I guess maybe it's realistic. I feel sorry for anyone in those relationships, but that was like, again, a refreshing storyline where they actually get along. They're bonding. She was so busy finding the clues. They got alone time and got to even though we didn't see much of it, it seems like they got close. And it was just nice to see them getting along. And he seemed like a great guy. I was like, there's not enough guys out there like that. And then he was open and understanding at the end when they kind of came to like the idea that they're going to wait. At least he was understanding and didn't continue like pushing her. So I thought that was fine and nice to see a nice in-law relationship.
Yeah, it was nice. And I just felt like they did a very good job in this movie of like, you felt the sort of the wound of you felt the absence of this father so much. And the whole reason they had eloped was because she didn't want to have a wedding without her dad there. And I mean, I just thought that really hit home. And when people are gone and you just feel that like hole in your family, it's so hard. I thought they did a really good job with that.
For sure.
Yeah. And so then we have Nora, Allie's character, and she is lesbian, and she had broken up with a girl named Vanessa because evidently Vanessa was very needy. They had some funny kind of jokes about that, but the big thing with her is that she started a cafe, the board game cafe, I think it was, and it totally blew up. It did not work. And so she feels all this embarrassment, especially with Emily, because Emily's so successful in her business. So they have that kind of difficulty in their relationship. What did you think, Betsy, about Nora?
Well, I think Allie is always fun to watch on Hallmark Channel. She's always great. And it's been a while, I feel like, since we've seen her. Do you feel like that?
The last time was that Gift to Remember 2 one.
Okay, so that's been a while, but no, I thought she was great. It's been a while, and now she's like directing. I don't know if anyone saw that with like Kimberly Sestad. I think she's directing the new series there, so good for her. I thought her character was great. Obviously, this was like, even though the other was progressive with that the child situation, this was also obviously the most progressive storyline as far as the sisters go. And Allie did a great job at it, and they didn't like make it feel like weird or anything. So it just seemed like it all fit really well into the storyline, and I thought it was all really well written too.
Yeah. What did you think, Abby, of Nora?
I love to see a queer character cast played by a queer actress. That was lovely. I thought it was really nice and well handled. I kind of loved that it wasn't like a thing that she was lesbian. It wasn't like it wasn't like a whole scandal.
Like it wasn't a coming out kind of plot in any way.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
it was nice.
things I noticed that was kind of an interesting choice. I don't know if I like, this isn't a critique, it's just an observation. Both of the women looked very traditionally feminine. Like typically, and I'm saying this as a queer person, there's some like queer people often like intentionally dress and make their appearance look gay, look lesbian or gay, or whatever it is, like, because you want to signal to other queers, hey, I'm queer also, right?
Yeah.
And even if you look at Allie's like Instagram, in her personal life, she dresses like, I look at her and I'm like, yeah, she looks like a queer person.
Right.
But neither of these women did, which I thought which that totally exists in the world too, right? Like that's not unrealistic. And it's not bad to do that. Like two femmes can totally be together. Right. Even if they look very traditionally feminine. I just thought it was an interesting choice to not have anything. Like usually like there's some piercings, there's some hairstyles, or the way that they dress, Timberland boots, flannel shirts.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about too that this is a warm weather Christmas movie, which definitely caught me off guard. about that. But yeah, I agree that I thought that Allie was really lovely, and she ends up meeting this woman named Maisie, who they have these cute kind of meet cute and moments. And I really loved on Allie's Twitter, she said, spoiler alert, in Every Time a Bell Rings, Nora gets the girl. Never thought I'd see the day that I'd be playing a lesbian in a Hallmark Christmas movie. This is progress, and I'm proud to be a part of it. Also, Lindy Greenwood is a dream, and it's streaming now on Hallmark Movies Now. So I was really happy for her, because she seems like a delight. We haven't had her on the podcast, but I'd love to talk with her. But yeah, I was really happy that that especially when all of the mess with the ad came out a couple of years ago, that I knew that she spoke out against it, of course, and that was, hard for her. And I'm so happy now to see it kind of come full circle and for her to have this experience. It's really good.
Yeah, that's lovely. I didn't realize, like, that makes sense that it would feel like especially important to her.
Yeah, and I thought they had good chemistry. I don't know. What do you think, Betsy? Do you think they had good chemistry?
I thought so. I figured that was like when we saw them getting like that special ice cream. I was like, I think I see where this is gonna go. And I thought, and like I think you were right, Abby, about it wasn't like a thing. It was just like natural, and it just fit like perfectly into all their scenes. Just seemed like to go seamlessly together with the storyline. And I thought I've never seen the other actress, and I was like, oh, who are you?
Yeah, I never had
I thought they were great together. So it is, it's like, I think this was an inevitable thing. Eventually this was going to happen for Hallmark Channel, just because in the time we're in, you can't just keep going like with the old way of things. So I thought this was a nice introduction. Like this movie, just in general, there were so many great things that were representative of today's modern age. And I love just all their scenes were so great together. And her mom was there. You could tell the girl's mom was kind of like, she knew something was going on, so she'd leave them alone to have like a couple moments together. So I thought it was great. I thought all of it was really well done.
Yeah. That special, I think it was the Rob special, I think is what they called it, because after the dad, and it was Rob or Ron, I couldn't tell, but anyway, and it was like, that's kind of a lame special. It's literally just a piece of mud pie with a scoop of ice cream on the side. Like they couldn't think of anything better than that.
Everything else was progressive, not that.
But I have to admit that having a warm weather Christmas movie was, like I said, a little bit jarring for me, because I'm just so used to all the tropes of the snow and the, all the sort of the typical settings. And obviously they have Christmas everywhere, so that's ridiculous on my part. But I don't know. It was a little bit like, oh, okay, this is a Christmas movie.
I thought it was funny too, because I mean, for one thing that helped show us that it was a warm Christmas movie was the warm filters on the like the warm filters they used.
That's true.
But it was so funny because like Wes is running around in like a sweater and a pea coat and a scarf, and I'm like, buddy's got to be sweating under there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I have to hand it to Wes Brown for taking this pretty small part. And I mean, he's usually a leading guy, and he's usually a pretty I guess star in the world of Hallmark. And so I think it was pretty cool of him to just take the supporting role in where he is not, he's just one small part in one of the sisters. Do you agree, Betsy?
Yes, and if they'd done that miniseries, we could have gotten more Wes, but that's okay. And he was great. I mean, he's so likable and fun to watch. And even though we didn't get much of him, it was nice to see him. And I agree with you, because they could have maybe gone with a local, and he was like, no, I'll do it. So that was like, it added more to like the star quality of the cast, I think.
Yeah, it just made it feel like more of a stronger ensemble that you had. And I thought he was really funny when he's like, I'm not helping y'all with the scavenger hunt. You don't get my help now. That was funny. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hearty, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Overall, of the scavenger hunt, did you think, Abby, did you think it was kind of a fun setup for your a set piece for your story?
Yeah, I actually liked that it it kind of functioned as just a device to keep the plot moving forward in a natural way. And it didn't seem overly contrived. It was cute and sweet and like a fun memory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really cute. I like the fact they involved the dad being this, making the clues, or supposedly making the clues, and it gave the three sisters time to just be like goofy and fun together, so it wasn't like all trauma.
Well, and it gave them a reason to spend that time together. Like it sort of forced them to like really spend the time to reacquaint themselves with each other and talk through what they needed to talk through.
Yeah, and they could just be kind of cute and fun and not have to like always be sort of diving into the grief and these like deeper themes. I think you needed that. Otherwise, it would have just been too heavy, I think.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been a Hallmark movie without that.
No.
It would have been a drama.
I did think it was really funny, the clue on the ferry when basically Aaron's character is like flirting with the ship captain. I thought that whole scene was funny. That made me laugh.
Oh, it was. That was one of my favorite scenes, is like the whole scavenger hunt. That was the funniest one, where I felt like just kind of like, I hope they don't get caught. What if they get caught? How are they going to play this? And that was so funny. The other thing that I thought was funny with the sisters was when they were hiding, when Paul was like looking for his wife, and they're like, come in the closet, and they were all hiding and giggling in the closet, and he heard them and he was like, oh wow, okay, that's how they are. So I thought like the sister moments were fantastic when you got to see them giggle. And then when Erin revealed that she had kissed Wes's character and they were all jumping on the bed,
yeah, that was cute.
Overheard it. I was like, it's like they were like 10 again, and I thought that was just so sweet to see these grown women like go back to their youthful side. The whole thing, I felt like the movie had like qualities of the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants in a way, to where they're all like kind of distant now, but then now they're back and they're like connected in a certain way, and they each have their own like storylines, but they're all connected. I just thought it was nice to see these female relationships just having fun. You don't see that enough.
Mm-hmm. I was curious, Abby, about the adoption day scrapbook that they have. Is that something that's typical, that like an adopted child will celebrate birthday and adoption day?
Sure, that's common. It's sort of controversial actually in the adoption world whether or not to do that, because for the adoptive parents it's like this exciting, like we became a family day. Mm-hmm. But for the child it's also a day of loss. It's a day that they lost there. But for some adopted people it doesn't feel that way, because a lot of times the loss happened months or years prior, and the adoption day is the day like I got to have a permanent family. Mm-hmm. So that is actually the scrapbook itself maybe not be super common, but a lot of people celebrate adoption day. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. I wondered about that. I think they handled her birth mother, Charlotte, in that whole scene.
Well, I didn't feel like she looked, I always think that the parents never look old enough to be like the parent of the child at the age there, but maybe she was young, when she had her. That's kind of what they alluded to. But I always feel like the casting, I'm like, okay, this mom should look 10 years older than her 40-year-old daughter.
I do agree with that.
Do you agree with that? Okay,
yeah.
I didn't know if it was just me. I'm like, she must get a lot of good facial moisturizer because she looks young. But no, I thought she looked a little young. But no, I thought it was sweet and positive. It wasn't too dramatic, even though it had some like kind of serious moments where they're kind of talking about like why it happened, but they didn't dive too deep into like specifics or anything. But I thought it was sweet, and you could tell that Erin's character really wanted to find out, like that she made that a point, that was all she'd ever wished for on the bell. So I thought it was just a nice moment, and I thought you could definitely tell they'd probably stay in touch and kind of get to know each other over the years. And I just thought it was a nice, like, subtle kind of getting to know you moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I would probably be even more emotional, but it was definitely, I mean, everybody, I guess, responds to these kinds of things differently than, I don't know, some people just aren't criers. But what do you think of that, Abby?
As with most of the adoption things in the movie, it was very squeaky clean.
Yeah.
Like it was very, devoid of the grit and like hardship and trauma that is present in adoption situations. That was pretty much like the optimal response from a biological parent, right? Where they're like supportive and they're excited to see you and they want to get to know you, but also they're not pushy and like trying to totally invade your life.
Yeah.
That was
she
optimal.
invites her to come for Christmas to an activity. Then like we discussed, she says, no, I'm gonna be with my family for that day. But yeah, I thought that it was well done and it was a sweet scene. And it would be interesting to kind of see more how their relationship develops. And then you did get a little bit of conflict between Liam and Charlotte. He thinks that she should tell her family about that. And he says, I just don't know what he says, I just don't know what I want right now. And he says, I think you do know, but I'm going to give you the space to make sure.
At what point did they have that conversation? Was it before or after she had met her biological mom?
It was after. I was after. Yeah, I was right in the they kiss in the car and they have their little thing. And then she tells him that she lied about seeing her going to meet her mom. And we have, Maisie and Nora meeting up, and Maisie gives Nora the ornament for Natchez. And that was really cute. And then they have their kiss. And so that was, I know we've had a gay male kiss in a Hallmark movie before, but I can't think of that we've had a female kiss. So that's exciting.
I was kind of surprised that they had a gay same-sex kiss, like a male same-sex kiss, before they had a female same-sex kiss on Hallmark.
Yeah. Yeah, it was in the Christmas house. It wasn't the leads, but it was last year. Liam and Charlotte said it would be so worth it for me to see where this goes, and so she decides that she's going to not be all abroad all the time, and she's going to try to make this work. And then there's this dedication at the end of the movie. Where I wasn't really sure what it was, some kind of art installation,
something like that.
Yeah,
I think wasn't there something about like the town's decorations, and Liam was fixing one that was kind of similar.
Yeah, that there was like a bell or something like that, and then this was like, I don't know, it was weird. It wasn't like a statue or anything, so I don't know why you needed like a dedication, but I don't know. I was like, what is this art piece?
Yeah, they like unveiled it like it was some big deal.
Yeah.
That was a little unclear. I was a little fuzzy on exactly what that was.
It had a bell, so I guess they're like, this is how we tie it all together with the bell.
Yeah.
I think it was a thing the mom had been working on in their wood shop or something. I don't know.
Well, and they did have the clues to the scavenger hunt were fairly. Are we supposed to believe that these clues have been there for like a long time, or did the mom put them in just the day before?
I thought it was Wes that had like
he had done some of them.
I think he had at least helped.
Yeah, because
my
one of them was just sitting on the command board of the boat. I'm like, how could it be there that long?
For like 2 years, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. My impression was that when the dad died, he had left in whole or in part the clues to the scavenger hunt behind somewhere in the house.
Yeah. And then the
And
mom
that
went and placed them.
the mom and Liam helped, like, got together and put them around town for them this year when they were all together. That was what I puzzled together in my mind.
I would love to do a scavenger hunt like that. I think that sounds so fun, but I don't know like where I live that well. I should know, but I think even though I've lived here since 2007, I should know where I live, but it's, I mean, it would be easier since they had lived there their whole lives, but still, I think I would do very bad at the scavenger hunt. But
I did feel like a lot of the clues, I mean, the clues were fairly obvious.
Yeah.
Once you knew what they were.
The only one that was hard was the I guess was the one that was in the family tree, and they went to their records.
Oh yeah, the one that was in the house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but they had gone to the courthouse records.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Well, and Charlotte really seemed to struggle with the idea of going into the chapel, going to the church, because it was just too painful, I guess, for the memories with her dad. And that's the thing. I mean, you have those places that it's really hard when you've lost someone that that it takes, I don't know, it takes a while. So I could understand. I could understand that. But yeah, I thought the writing was really good, and I thought it just captured the dynamic of sisters very well, of adult sisters, and the challenges, but also, the love. Especially when you have sisters that are, I mean, very different and just have taken very different paths, like in my family. So that's what I related to it very much in that way. So I think that Elise did a really good job with the writing, and all the performances were really good. And overall, I really enjoyed it. I didn't feel like it was one of those ones that was a downer. I felt very positive by the end of it. So yeah, it's kind of my parting thoughts is I just thought it was such a nice movie about family and sisterhood, and all wrapped in Christmas. So what are your final thoughts on the film? Your favorite parts, Betsy?
Well, you all made some great points. And with a scavenger hunt, how nice was it to have different locations and not kind of just be in the same, like 2 or 3 locations like a lot of these movies have? I felt like they were always in some place new. So that was kind of nice. And I thought that was fun for all the actors. Like, oh, here's where we are today. But I haven't seen all the movies this season. There are so many. My goodness. I don't know how you keep up with so many different networks. I'm like in awe of your abilities to watch all that. But of the ones I have seen so far this season, this is probably my favorite. I just liked everything about it. It was a breath of fresh air. I hope they make more like this. I would watch it again for sure. And I'm sure there are little things like you'll catch the second time around because there was so much going on. Also, I watched this on Amazon Prime because it like connects your Hallmark Movie Now account. There were no ads. So I'm like, could they have made it 2 hours instead of an hour and a half since there were no ads? That would be so nice because I wish they could have developed these characters more. Do you think there is the possibility of a sequel? Would you like to see a sequel for this?
Well, I would love to see a sequel to it, and I hope that it does well enough for a lot of reasons. I hope it does well enough to be worthy of that, I guess. But also just that they'll continue to make these kind of movies. I hope it does well enough, and I'm actually really glad that they put it on Hallmark Movies Now first, because it was just nice to be able to have a movie where only the people that wanted to watch it watched it, and you didn't have to deal with the ridiculousness, of the people, of the Karens of the world, for lack of a better word, that you didn't have. That there was just like this little pocket that was just people just celebrating. I mean, I looked on Twitter, I could not find a single. I'm sure they're there, but at least what I could see was just celebration, and that was really nice. And I feel like if they had put it on Hallmark Movies Mysteries first, we would have gotten all of that. And I don't know, I was just glad that they let it be a happy experience for a couple weeks. I don't know if that's
very true.
What are your sort of parting thoughts, Abby, on the film?
As far as the sequel goes, you could do so much with sequels to this movie. So much.
Mm-hmm.
So my parting thought is, Hallmark people, if you can hear me, Please give us more like this. Please, more.
I agree. Well, thank you so much to both of you for talking about this film with me. This was a lot of fun. And let us know what you think if you got a chance to watch it. Did you like it? Not like it? Put in the comments section. We would really appreciate it. And Betsy, how can people find you?
Well, www.hallmarkhappenings.com. I don't know if you have to put the www in, but just in case you do, that's there. I'm pretty active on Instagram. I like once a month post on the other social platforms because I forget to get busy. But if you want to follow me on Instagram at Hallmark Happenings Podcast, that's where you'll find the most stuff. I really appreciate you letting me get to chat with you and Abby today, Rachel. This was fun.
It was really fun. And Abby, where can people follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Abby_kid, or find me on Medium as Abby Kid.
And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So please check that out and make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That helps us so, so much. Also, if you are watching on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our Patreon group, which is so much fun. And we have our watch alongs every month. And so if you can support us in there, we would really appreciate it. And we have our merch store, which has tons of fun, festive designs. So please take a look at that. And we'll talk to y'all later. Merry Christmas. Bye, everyone.
Bye.